I got 40. Congratulations on the book. Thank you. Yes. 10 years from brother. I'm right, she's psychology. Here with me, and she just wrote a book too. We'll be back in here. I want to but I love her. Oh, that seems good. Next time, how long did it take you to write that? It came to me like a few days ago. That's the question.
I have an incredible team based in South Africa, great illustrator. Yes. No, yeah, no, my coach does everything. She does I'm looking to do a TED Talk. So TED Talk, she's helps with my writing, my public speaking.
Very nice. Are you doing you?
I do.
Yep, and I didn't realize that.
I don't have a podcast.
In today's day, again, reach so many people with the internet.
I know everyone listens to podcasts.
It's your autistic. Meet you. Steve. He talks about you all the time. Yeah. He's been talking about your book for a good stuff. Yes, I love this.
He's going to be in part 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's first stuff I say. I'd like to finally meet you. So I initially met PA for school work together. I met Uzi while we became really good friends. Yes. I would get it. But we became really good friends. Trying to keep my heart on kids all really good. I keep talking to them. Let me know we do it. Last time they came down. No, it's not easy. They're trying to get me to help them.
I was like, what's your
Those two, That's all good. Our family's been alive for a long time. Good to meet you. Looking forward to the next part.
He's making his way. Sun's bad. Worst time of the day to be sitting there.
I messaged we'll be right back. I had to. Okay, so this happened kind of when I thought would happen. Ending it, starting it, starting the whole video, and I could not stop the timer while we were doing it. So the people that were watching, I don't know how to. So I talked to Brooke, she said she knows the people who are watching. She's gonna message them and help them to get us. I'll wrap it on.
Hi everyone, we're going to get started here in just about 10 minutes. I went around individually to each table to check. We have a parking issue out front. There's a gray Tesla that has someone boxed in. Is that you, sir? Okay. Anyone here with a gray Tesla? License plate AK87CU?
It might be upstairs because they put the tour.
All right, we'll check on that. All right, we'll get started in 10 minutes. Thank you.
I went to Florida there a couple years ago. So I was.
Never mind. Before Mel moved down, and I wonder if this has a mic on it.
I guess it's just maybe you got it all.
What I don't understand is pieces are so big. Why are they You're not good with
Same kind of deal. Because we are get excited for you. Okay. Yeah, we need the authorization. Oh yeah. You work with outside. Oh, okay, yeah. No, we can. I guess it would be. Okay. They also have a gigantic outside. I know a lot of that's why I get weak. But thank you, oh yeah.
Hello. Hey guys, can I get your attention for a second? Hey guys, can I get your attention? If you have a gray Tesla, you're blocking somebody in. Could you move your car, please? A gray Tesla is blocking somebody in.
Yeah.
I was going to get the water.
Well, that's somebody hurt my brain. Some today.
That's why it's
One of my mentors told me that you should complete yeah, dude. The kids might never get up with this. Yeah, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I jump higher. I go to the gym workout. This is my one Liliana.
She somehow has done something.
Okay, guys, if you want to find your seats, we're going to start in about 5 minutes. We don't have theater lights. This is protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys can find your seats. Very curvy and find your seats.
We got a cold treat coming.
All right, everyone, if we could bring it back in, please. Love work. We can get the next session started.
Oh, Jennifer, this is your seat. Doctor, so we're gonna ask you to just reach down this one. I'm gonna have Jennifer come on over here. Okay, we're gonna get started. Okay, for everybody who is in here, we'll get started. So one of the things we've been talking about tonight is how wonderful his nonprofit is, Record House. STEM and STEAM, teaching people how to fly. God bless you.
Thank you.
One of the things we've been talking about tonight is connection. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to illustrate connection and what happens when you can't connect and the outcome when you can't connect. So here's a challenge. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. You heard me. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I want every single person in this room to make a connection with another individual so that there is no one unconnected who does not understand the instruction. You have 10 seconds to connect. Every single person in this room, if you're fear of COVID, do an elbow, shoulder, hand, you do what you want. That's totally up to you. Okay, hang on, you can't brainstorm yet. All right, who's got okay, are you ready? 10 seconds. Go. 10 seconds on your mark. Get set, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. No, you have to stay connected. Simon says, everybody, Simon says, put your hands down. The goal of this exercise is for each and every person, like a circuit, to be a closed circuit. Every single person in this room needs to be a conduit to be connected. You're part of the solution, you're not the problem. So what I want you to do is I want you to connect each and every person. Is that clearer? Yes. Okay, on your mark, and set, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Raise your hand if you are not connected. Now, are you ready? You're going to keep your hands to yourself. You're going to keep your hands to yourself. Jennifer, you're going to keep your hands to yourself. Come on your hands to yourself. You're going to keep your hands to yourself. Edward, you're going to keep your hands to yourself. You're going to keep your hands to yourself. Are you ready? You've got 10 seconds. Go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Raise your hand if you're not connected. Raise them up high. Take a look around. Have a seat. What are the barriers? What are the barriers? What are the barriers? What'd you say? Availability. People. What else? What are the barriers?
Proximity.
Beautiful. Love it. What else?
You made us.
Simon says. What are the barriers? Human connection. What are the barriers? Networking. What about just the pure existence of services that don't know that other services are there? What if every single person in this room was a nonprofit or a medical industry, or someone from the medical industry that was able to help someone with a mental health crisis? How many people here went without help? Who was not connected? Raise your hand if you were not connected. Raise them up high, y'all. Look around. Hands down. In this particular section of tonight, we're going to be talking about advocacy. What does advocacy really look like? It looks like people who have services that can connect with other ones. You have to put your ego aside. This is not about ego or pride. This is not about who has the most money in a nonprofit. This is not about who's a CEO or who's a line staffer or who's a case manager. This is about the community in need. Individuals need to be able to serve people in crisis. Are you that person? Are you that industry? And you are. Every single person in this room can help. Raise your hand if you don't think you can. Raise your hand if you're not part of the solution. We're going to be talking now about advocacy. Shroud, you want to ask a question? And we're going to be asking a question to Jennifer, who is the CEO of the Coalition for the Homeless of Pasco County.
But you're not going to ask me first. He wanted to start down there.
No, we're going to ask you first. It just so happens that I know that a lot of individuals have a lot of expertise in Pasco. As far as advocacy is concerned, we have someone from the police department. We have somebody with a global reach and a global knowledge of the homeless and those at risk for homelessness. And we have somebody who actually works for day care, urgent care for mental health, to being able to open doors to people with a mental health crisis. So there's no better way to start off this conversation through advocacy than with this trio. Shroud?
Before we get started, just want to let everybody know, Kona Ice just got here, so there's a cold treat that we're going to be able to have for everybody, so cool down. So I just want to start with that. So the question I have for advocacy is, what pressing issues drive you to advocate for mental health wellness?
The pressing issue for me, what drives me every day, is the compassion that we need to display for the clients and the individuals that we come into contact with. There are times when we get feedback from individuals that are calling around to different places that, again, I'm going to use the crisis word, they are in crisis and not knowing what to do. So it is our job to stop them in that moment again and really treat the individuals with compassion. So that's the way in which I tell my staff and anyone else, and making those phone calls myself to the other agencies to make that warm handoff in order to get the services that the individual needs, because it is that care and compassion that we can offer in that moment to give them the hope to, carry on to the next day and really complete that next task, even though it feels so unmanageable at that time.
I would say as far as advocacy goes for law enforcement, it's a lot of different issues. It's homelessness, it's mental health, it's substance abuse. As law enforcement officers, we have this tendency to respond and then go on to the next call. The unfortunate part is those issues are thrust into our faces on a daily basis. So having the ability to focus time on an individual is not just typically there for us. As much as we want to deal with it, we don't usually have the time to sit down with an individual and talk about their individual needs and refer them to the right places. Wellness is not a one-size-fits-all, and it requires professionals to be able to find the right resources for those individuals. So, at the police department, when I first started, I started an initiative I trained everybody in homeless prevention. That didn't work. Again, they go from one call, they don't have time to spend, they go to the next call. Since I was probably a lieutenant, I was trying to get all the mental health and homeless groups together so that we can talk about kind of like this. And it worked for a little bit, but unfortunately after a little while, we found that everybody kind of wanted to stay to themselves and just do their thing and not really connect, as Lynn said. When we started the nonprofit for CHIPS, it was to literally get resources over to the east side of the county. That's one of the things that we identified was, even if I had an officer to spend time, we don't have resources to even give to them. So really the start of the nonprofit was more of a, hey, we're over here, don't forget us. And that's really how it started, and it's turned out to be a lot bigger than that. So, like Lynn said, the advocacy is really about making those connections and having those resources. If I wasn't spending time doing that, I wouldn't know Jennifer, I wouldn't know Erica, I wouldn't know some of the other organizations that are here, or some of the ones that we deal with in our own communities. It's through meetings like this, it's through our connection to nonprofits, through our connection with our homeless outreach program within the police department. That's how we're gaining those connections to get those resources over to us. So really, advocacy is collective.
I would say from my perspective on the behavioral side would be to advocate that behavioral health issues are like medical issues, right? Like to reduce that stigma, and that has not always been the case. And I think I talked earlier about, you've got access points for medical, like urgent care. You're seeing all of that stuff pop up everywhere on the medical side, but you don't see as much of that, on the behavioral health side. And I think, again, it goes back to reducing stigma. I think we've done a good job. We're not where we were 20 years ago, but there's still a long way to go on that. We talk a lot about addiction, and there's medication-assisted treatment, and that's been an evolution as far as people realizing that people can recover using medication, and that's there's been a huge stigma around that, and advocating that. Why would we treat that any different? If somebody is diabetic, we would say, why aren't you taking your insulin, right? So if somebody is struggling with an addiction, which is also a brain disease, why would we not say, if your body needs this, why would that be different, right? And so I think trying to level that playing field and for people to kind of understand that, it's a vulnerable thing. And I think we all have to understand that whether they intersect with, law enforcement, or, the homeless coalition, or just anybody on the street, that people struggle very personal. And so I think just being that listening ear, I think we're also all we're wired to be connected to people, right? So many people. And so what we do on the behavioral health side, I don't want to diminish that, it's definitely a piece, but it's a small piece. So, an hour therapy session or an hour with a psychiatrist once a week, once a month, can give a little bit of help, but that recovery happens in the community, right? By being connected to people and practicing that and being surrounded and supported. And so I think it's just so important to realize that that's a piece, it's an important piece, but so is everyone else here, and understanding that. And, I think just advocating for those social connections as people who are your people, right? And they need that in our lives. And I think what we talked about earlier, like with technology and certain things, you need to be face to face with people at times to be able to build those relationships and connections. Not that you can't, but you do miss a little piece of that, reading emotions. I think we talked about earlier, asking, are you okay, right? And so even in our own organization, we lost someone, died by suicide. I think Dr. Monica was talking about how always had a happy face on. This was somebody who was surrounded by behavioral health professionals, right? And we missed it because this person seemed happy. It just it threw us for a loop. And I think, we would say, are you okay? Just to go, yep. But now we stop and we go, no, are you okay? Asking that question twice, right? Not just asking. Being intentional in that, holding space for people is super important. So that's.
So another great question that's born out of exactly what you just said. If you work in the nonprofit arena or even the for-profit arena, who here has made a referral for somebody, for a client, to another nonprofit for assistance? Raise them up high. Higher. Get them up there. So you can look around and see. That's the connection, right? And these are people coming from all different industries. So you are aware. And you are advocating. But the message isn't strong enough, is it? Because not every single person in this room raised their hand. Even if you're not a nonprofit, you can still refer a friend somewhere. You can refer your family member. How many people have ever had a family member say, with an addiction, you need help? A friend, you need help. So it's not just the local agencies, is it? We all have a role. We all have a part to play. Because time is wearing on, we're going to step right into the alignment piece, and I need a volunteer. And before you do, I'm going to tell you that this is assistance for mental health care on whatever level she needs. It could be a support group. It could be an addiction center. It could be a psychiatrist, a therapist. It could just be a friend who picks up the phone to say, how are you? This is the key to mental health. Who's got a timer? Okay, cool. Go for it. Mark, take go. Five seconds. Cool. All right. So now I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come with me. And you can go back over there because you're going to still be in the piece of it. I need you guys to stand out like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're interested, come on up. And right here, go Paul.
Oh, we're gonna block it.
See if you can stretch out so you match the people that are in line out here. There you go. We're going to keep it simple. I usually do this with about 40 people. It's a blast. And we can't can you guys move up just a teeny tiny bit? There you go. Oh, you have heels on. You gonna be okay? Okay. All right, cool. Okay, go like this, out, shoulder to shoulder. Now, you guys are now in streets, and what I want you to do is turn sideways for alleys. Turn sideways. Yep. Alleys. Yep. Let's practice. Streets. Alleys. Streets, alleys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We gotta make this a little more challenging. Stand just like that in front of these people. That's like all. Okay, move up just a little bit. Okay, streets, alleys. Come on, Simon says. Alleys. Yeah, there you go. Good. Streets, alleys. Okay, so now here, streets. Good. So now what I want you to do is I want you to walk to the other side to get help. You ready? Streets. Go. Alleys. Streets. Alleys. Streets.
Oh, like the game progress.
Alleys. Streets. Alleys. Now that you've practiced it, come back here. Who's got a timer?
All your timers are up.
Somebody get out your timer. You guys ready? Okay, streets. Marcus, say go. Alleys. Streets. Alleys. Streets. Alleys. Streets. Alleys. Streets. Hello.
I didn't want to hear you.
24 seconds, have a seat. What in your community is holding you back from providing services in a timely manner? I'm going to ask it again. What in your community is holding you back from providing services in a timely manner? Where is the alignment? Where are the referrals? Do you have a triage system? I know about 988. Where do people go in your community before they get there? Proactive, get them the help they need before there's a crisis. How about we think proactively? Don't be a street and alley. Don't catch people up in politics and hoops. Non-barriers, low barriers, call it what you will. So the question that we're here to ask in this last piece, in this last panel, and thank you for sticking it out for how many of hours we've been here. You guys are amazing for being here this long in 100-degree heat. We did it. My question is going to be, what are you doing in your community? How can you advocate to streamline mental health services so that there is not a crisis, so there's prevention, so that we get to it before something happens? You all are movers and shakers and agents of change. You're in leadership positions. And even if you don't think you are, oh, well, I work on a farm. No, you're in a leadership position because you're in a community of people who need you. I don't care if you're a homeschool mom. I don't care if you're a dishwasher. I don't care if you're a bus boy. I've bus tables. I was the sloppiest busser in the universe. But you know what? I know how to reach out to ask somebody for help. I know how to also be there in case when somebody's crying or when they are in need. So the question for the panel is, are services aligned to get somebody the help they need before a crisis occurs? And if not, what's blocking that?
I'm going to speak from the education standpoint. I'm shouting. I think everybody can hear me.
I think you hear me.
From the education standpoint, I would argue that really they're not aligned, especially on the preventative side of things. We do have screenings in place, right? That students, mental health screenings that students complete.
However, in this last legislative cycle, there was a push to amend those so that parents had the right to those results. And that raised a lot of questions about, situations where maybe students were abused by their parents, right? So the effectiveness of those screening tools, that did not pass this session, but I have no reason to think it wouldn't come back up, in the following session. And it comes under the guise of parent rights, which sounds great, right? But there's these unintended consequences for some students for them. So those are things to watch out for. And as far as being proactive and things we can do, watch that legislation, right? Watch pending legislation that's happening that's going to impact these things. Go talk to your representatives. Go to Tallahassee and lobby. There's public comment before they do these things. Make yourself heard. Funding is the other big one, right? Funding, particularly with schools, public schools, as choice is happening, the number of students that we have in public schools dropping, your funding's dropping. When the funding's dropping, you can't provide those extra services. So again, lobbying for adequately funding our schools and for this need, these are things that we could be doing better.
So, the last question I talked about, the why, how things are done organically a lot. In terms of being intentional in the mental health space, this is still an area where the why is kind of just beginning. There's a lot of room for growth for us in this space. So a couple of things we do as a nonprofit is we rely on our community partnerships. So, specifically for the Y in East Pasco, we have a partnership with the local Advent Health. So anytime something comes up with either a member or a staff person, a lot of times we will refer them to Advent Health as our community partner in that space. And I personally have connections with people that I can get on the phone and call, and they can put me in the right direction. I might not be able to help myself directly, but I can try and get them to where they need to go. And my staff is trained in knowing who to send them to as well. From an employee standpoint, with the Tampa Y, the larger umbrella of the YMCA is part of the daycare. And our employees get resources a lot of times through daycare and employee assistance programs that way. So we rely a lot on our partnerships in alignment with the professionals in that space. The last piece of it is we are just dipping our toes into mental health first aid. The Y is done a lot of CPR, oxygen, first aid stuff. It's required of all our staff to work at the Y. We have one trainer right now in our association that teaches mental health first aid for youth. And we run those classes probably once or twice a year. So we are just kind of dipping our toes into that space, but that's something we've gotten a lot of great feedback from. And that's something that a lot of staff has shown interest in wanting a certification in because of the connection they have to you through the ins and outs of the job, whether it's teaching swim lessons or coaching in sport. So we have a lot of interest, but we're still very in that capacity in terms of the
I love the fact that you have a direct line. So it starts in the community. Don't think so big that it has to be from the state. We're in a community. It's not just Pasco. Then there's Port Richey, Newport Richey. There's Trinity, and there's what else? Give me the cities. Keep on going. Except for Thank you. So it starts in the community. So if you have a direct line to people in your community, more power to you for being aligned. If you're not referring people out with the people that you know, get connected.
So, as a clinical pharmacist, and like you mentioned, community, one of the biggest things for me is sharing the science and what I call a mental wellness toolbox. What could work for me may not work for you. And like I said earlier in my speech, the science behind the Western Eastern practices.
I feel like I'm aligned to share with my patients and educate them on things that they may not know. I was just sharing with Alex earlier that there are clinical studies out there that do head-to-head studies of movement, 30 minutes of walking a day is equivalent to 20 milligrams of Prozac. So clinical studies, head-to-head studies, and I share this with my patients, that there is power in movement, even if they don't have access to a gym. Getting outside, I talked about nature being medicine, just being around trees, flowers, the ocean. There's just something about being outside. And then, I go through a lot of patients who just are non-compliant with their medications. It's our patients who need to be on their medications, and it's the stigma that they put on themselves, or it's the stigma that they get from their families. And it's one of those things, like I always share, how, they mentioned, you mentioned about, someone being diabetic and not having the stigma to take insulin. So I educate my patients that you should not be ashamed to take Lexapro or some Xanax if you need it, medication is a component. There is science behind the practice of mindfulness and meditation. Half my patients don't even know what mindfulness is, and so it's something that I teach them, give them some tools, send them some, websites, introduce them to what meditation is. A lot of people run away from meditation. I introduced meditation to my brother, where I was doing Zoom meditation classes with him. I was in LA, he was here, and we would do weekly sessions, and I introduced him to meditation, and he has become a great meditator. And what's so incredible is it became a ripple effect that last year he was doing meditation classes for some people himself. So it's educating, setting an example, and I think, from a pharmacist perspective, I feel like that's what I'm aligned to do. And I always love to back things up by science, clinical studies, and that's what I usually share with my patients and their families. And they walk away and like, okay, don't you want to go? I'm going to try that. I'm going to go try walking 30 minutes a day. And I'll check in with them a month later, like, hey, how are you feeling? Oh, I feel so much better. Like it's like a mental break for me when I go out or go for a walk. Or when I talk about compliance, I'll ask them, like, why'd you stop taking your meds? Oh, because I'm feeling okay, so I don't think I need it anymore. So I educate them, that's not how it works. You don't just stop them until you get withdrawal effects. And just by stopping the medication without your doctor's approval can just harm you. So I'm that bridge between the patient, the physician. They come to us when it comes to medications, but it's far more than medication. It's a complete toolbox, like I mentioned. So that's what I feel I'm aligned.
Wow. I'm just going to be completely honest here, is that I've learned a lot today, and I'm blown away. And you all have taught me something here. My alignment stands with, I am 53 years old, and just 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, I just realized that I suffered from a childhood sexual abuse with a nanny. And how am I, 51 years old, dealing with this? And I'm thinking, reflecting back on that, on the question, and I'm thinking, wow, if I could have connected the dots earlier, or trusted my people that were there to help me out, time had this. Since I'm a civilian, I've been practicing being a civilian for the last 7 years. I'm learning so much from you civilians on how to connect the dots, how to encourage others. I deal more with the parents here. I talk to the parents so much more. The kids that I deal with that young, 8, 7, 5, in camp here, they're 12, 13, 14. So I don't get into those places. But when I do see that they're struggling. I reach out to the parents and I want to continue to do that. I didn't realize what I was doing, connecting the dots and helping and encouraging. I have kids, all the kids that are here, the 30, the 40 of them, and then on tour, the thousands of them, they're just like my kids, and I see them as my kids. So I'm always going to look out and encourage and connect that dot. So thank you for that. And man, I was vulnerable today. And we need more of this. That's what I wrote down here. Whenever I write, I'm a visual learner, so I write and I get it, I see it. And what I'm seeing here is that this needs to continue. We on this panel, officer, behavioral therapist, homeless rep, Ms. Jennifer, we need to come together and talk more because I need to learn more about what you do. Because I can help. I really can. And it's people like you all that are in this room that care that will connect. I appreciate you, Lynn. This is amazing. You're gonna put me in tears. Can I get a timeout? I'm just saying, let me stop there because I'm gonna get emotional. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, I would like to say we all have problems. You know, like, no matter where you are, you know, every human being suffer from different kind of issues, from different kind of situation. So how are we going to get out of this? We need a resource. So I'll give you an example. One day I want to hire a technician in my life. So I found all the paperwork. I just couldn't find who I should contact. Each person you contact, oh, they find with some of the paperwork for you. All I want to know, how can I find out that this language? Just nobody can tell me. I spent 2 days to contact human resource. Finally, I got someone responsible for that. So that means, you know, we identified the problem. We know we have this issue. But how to get connected? So very simple right now. I make a recommendation to the university to the provost, to HR. I said, all you need, set up a folder. Make sure the public domain, all the faculty can access that. Inside the folder, you all need list each level to contact the person. So I write in this level problem, who is the contact person, email, telephone number. So right now, people don't have the patience. Keep punching the code from different fields. Punch 1, 2, 3, 4. Punch the key, right? They're automatic, the AI system. We need to connect the person. We need to be paired. And they need a connection. They're not connected to the machine. You need someone to answer. You feel more comfortable. The same thing, the health, service. You provide someone you always link to the machine. It's not healthy. People need to be care. It's readily available. Particularly, let's say a lot of people listen about young kids. The young kids I teach ADHD in pharmacy. So ADHD, most doctors, they run on drug, stimulant. This stimulant really help the kid. Personally, I say no. They help the symptoms, but not because the damage is very severe. Because easily get addiction. But the kids use that and they have some trouble. So nature therapy, how people care. So you supervise them much closer is better. Like the day before yesterday, a lady from Facebook, the Timothy, she called me, she said she found my name on the website. I need help. I have Alzheimer's. And I talked to her. I said, you leave alone. It's not healthy. She said, I got hired as a nurse. I said, nurse just provide the professional care. You have doctor. Ask your doctor for me. Your doctor gave you a lot. The health care person just do their job. That's a difference.
Now, I strongly recommend the set up a connection, identify the problem. So each person they have a problem, as a professional, they have to identify the root cause exactly what happened. What the real cause, and they will help them to solve the issue. Make sure all the resources available, not searchable, not like my experience. I spent 2 days finally find the person to connect. We make the public, and so a lot of people work for the country, for the city. And if you can adequately make sure all the public resources available, readily for all the families, that's big help.
So tonight is an actionable night. You've sat here long enough, you've listened to us, you've listened to people. It's actionable. What are you going to take back to your communities that increase awareness, that promote advocacy, that align the services? I don't care if you're in the for-profit or nonprofit industry. I don't care if you stay at home, if you're retired, if you're still working, you have a role to connect, to be able to make sure that somebody in need, poor girl back here, Deanna, trying to get help, and all this politics and hoops and these barriers are in her way, clear them up. That's my challenge to you. Clear the air, clear it up. Create an alignment that gets Deanna from there to there with the lowest barriers possible. Maybe it looks like one intake sheet. And maybe it looks like one intake sheet for all the nonprofits in the area so that we already know when somebody comes into the system exactly what they need. Only you will know the answer because it's your community. It's not mine. I live in Brooksville. Just kidding. It is my community. I'm invested. I'm committed, like all of you. So we're going to wrap up tonight with a very important story. Drop.
I wanted to say first and foremost, thank you for each one of you panelists and all the work that you guys do. It's amazing because I got a chance to know each one of you guys individually, and something came together saying there's something bigger, and each one of us need to connect. I want you guys to first. I wanted to make a highlight on this. If you guys take a look at your Kona ice cups, these are reusable, so I ask you guys to take them. I had this great conversation with Christy when she was serving at the YMCA, and she got a chance to tell me what the owner of the company is really big about. And if you look at the positive messaging that's on those cups, they have characters. There's a byproduct of a lot of the things that we all do that supports mental health, but when we don't put it forth, it's really hard to bring to light. And that's why I asked them to be here. One is to help with the heat, cool this down, but there's a purpose to it. And I asked you guys to take those home, enjoy them, and keep that in mind for this event. So I'm going to be doing the closing, and today I get to share my story, why and how this event came together, why I'm up here and doing what I'm doing. So I'm British born. I grew up in California. I've been in Florida since 2018. Married a beautiful wife, had 2 wonderful children that I get a chance to have these types of discussions with now, but not before. Growing up, I had my very first alcoholic drink at the age of 12. And the reason that happened is because I saw it in front of me. My dad would have a drink, and I was like, what's this? Okay. I didn't understand it at the time, but it was just something different. Fast forward a little bit later, didn't touch it in high school. Got to college, I started a fraternity in college. So everybody knows with the fraternity, like alcohol is like second nature. We had a beer keg that was just sitting there, like when people got out of school, we'd be drinking. So that's when alcohol started entering into my life. And as I transitioned through college, I didn't realize that I was using alcohol for more than just for fun. It was when I got sad. It was when I was angry. It was when I was confused. But I wasn't aware of it then. It was just it was experiencing the byproduct of it. Broken relationships, getting angry, alienating people in my life. But again, I wasn't aware of it until recently. Let's fast forward a little bit more, getting out of college. I'm South Asian, and my sister and I, being from India, it's a very, very big stigma in the South Asian culture. Like, very similar to a lot of others, but it's one of those things growing up. If I were to have those conversations with my parents, like, they're more understanding than most are, but when forget about it. It's okay if you don't talk about it. Those were the times where I started suppressing it. I started pushing it down. And I'm like, okay, well, hey, one is I'm a man, right? Men's mental health is one of the taboos that we don't talk about because we're men, right? Like, we talk about mental health, but we do. That was how I lived my life, knowing that I was the provider. I was the man of the house. I'm, in the Indian culture, the men carry on the last name, right? And that was what I was doing. So I get to Fort Lauderdale in 2018, and I was, mind you, I was 10 years sober at this time, so I quit alcohol during that time. I get to Fort Lauderdale, that's the first place where we moved, and I worked in multiple different industries. I worked in housing, I worked in food service, telecom, construction, and my end purpose was I knew I had to help people somehow. So just being able to go through all these different sectors just came to me. So I was working for this company selling countertops and stone and tile for builders. And at that time, I had run into one of my fraternity brothers that I started a fraternity with that was living in Fort Lauderdale. Well, I knew I wanted to get into my own real estate, house flipping. Well, he offered me the opportunity. And I was like, out of a 9 to 5, great. I can do this. I've done it before. He wasn't a good person. Did some terrible things to me, the way he spoke, like certain things that happened. There's some other people's stories I don't feel comfortable sharing because it's theirs. But that got me to drink again. I did it undercover. I was a low dose, high functioning alcoholic. And if you guys know, during that time, COVID was starting to come around. So what did we have to do? Put on masks. Oh, better for me. No one's gonna smell my breath. I'm over here taking a shot of tequila, and I'm functioning. I'm taking 2 shots of tequila. I'm still functioning. Next thing I know, I'm drinking a 5th of tequila before I even start my day. And eventually, we all know alcohol catches up to us. So at that point, I went through something with this fraternity brother of mine, and I had the courage to confront him when I was drinking, and it really exploded. It was almost like an explosion of emotion came out. I had anger, I had sadness, I had all of that, but it was directed to somebody. So I was still dealing with something that I didn't realize I was dealing with. So at that point, 2020, COVID happens, right? 2019, 2020, I actually caught COVID. I got it before it was even like people were talking about it. It's like, hey, it was the flu. Well, to this point, I still can't smell bad smells. So I can be holding dog poop and a rose, I can smell the rose. So that's like the good byproduct I got out of COVID. So luckily, because of COVID, house flipping slowed down. It actually separated. So it's a blessing. I actually got a chance to separate from him without being stuck with him. And I fell back on my experience over the years, which was management. So I ended up working for a company called T-Mobile, which was a Sprint, but it got bought by T-Mobile. So telecom entered in, and that's when I started connecting people through technology. We moved from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa, and I moved to Tampa. Zephyrhills is where we resided. My vice chair that's here, he's a great, amazing person. He's one of the people that brought me back and gave me a chance to work out in T-Mobile here in Zephyrhills. However, he ended up moving to a different territory, and I got a new manager who he didn't like when people challenge the status quo. And I'm the type of person that say, if I don't see something right, he wanted a yes man. So we know in corporate America, it's a very difficult way to navigate. So the moment I wanted to challenge it, it was an emotional cage, What did I resort back to? I felt like I needed to drink because I had to function. I was working 10 to 12 hours a day. I was on salary, I was working 6 days. Sometimes I would go in on my day off just to make sure that the store was functioning, because at that point I was worried about the people that were there. Were they getting the service? Were they getting the help? Well, I don't have the time to tell you the details of the story, but it got to a point where I was drinking and nobody knew. But one day I was like, you know what? Screw this. I walked into my neighbor's house and I was like, in the morning, it was like 7:30 in the morning, like, hi guys, I'm drunk. And I think it was my cry for help. It was inadvertently in. My wife was there, my neighbors were there, and they couldn't say anything to me because if anybody here drinks, like when alcohol comes over, you're like, you're the man, you're the person, no one's gonna tell you anything. So this was in December of 2022. 2 to 3 months later, my boss at the time had the chance to tell me that he's going to speak to my team and not let me be involved in that conversation, which I said, okay, that's great. What ended up happening was he told me something that they said about me to kind of fracture that relationship, as if I wasn't the person that leader they wanted to trust. And he told me, he's like, I can't even talk to HR about this because I'll get in trouble if I go to HR and talk about this. So again, another cage inside of the cage, because I'm going to talk to my team. This is a team that we had Thanksgiving dinner for. Like I cooked Thanksgiving dinner, we set up on things like on a couple days before, and we had that emotional connection. So when we found out, and I didn't approach my team, but my assistant manager at the time did, he's like, none of it's true. So in my mind, I'm like, what do I do? My only option was alcohol at that time again. So it was a Wednesday, I think it was a Tuesday morning. I'm trying not to remember it, but 7 o'clock in the morning, I take these two to school. I go to 7-Eleven, I pick up their little wine bottles. I go home, I text my wife. I've done this before because I was tired. I was like, I'm gonna go home and go back to sleep after I drop the kids off. I text her and she's like, okay. So I go home and I drink 4 little Sutter Home wine bottles on an empty stomach. One of the worst pains I've ever felt in my stomach. I was like, yeah, it's just the alcohol, but I don't know what it was. I laid down on the bed, I passed out. Something inside her said, I gotta have the neighbors go check on him. I don't know what it was. Neighbors come in, she unlocks the door remotely. They're trying to wake me up for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. I didn't wake up. Finally, I wake up. At this point, they're like, we're gonna go take you to get help. Because this is the second time they've seen me drinking when I said I was gonna stop drinking. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna go get help. They're gonna take me to, talk to someone, right? I'm almost borderline drunk at this time. So I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm ready to go. And I'm playing like a smart aleck. So I had one little bottle of that wine left, and I said, hey, let me take a shower. So I sent them off the way. I got the wine again. Jump in the shower, and I'm like, cool, we're gonna go. I'll be home by night. And mind you, his very first basketball game was the next day. And they took me to Tampa Behavioral Health. I sit down, I'm talking to the intake person. I'm hearing, oh, you can leave anytime you want. They're saying, you're gonna be in here at least overnight. So I got checked into Tampa Behavioral Health for 5 days. It was one of the most intense experiences because I think I went through every single emotion I could possibly ever imagine. The first moment that I walked in there, I told myself, I'm just not gonna eat. I'm gonna fast until I get out of here. I'm like, Gandhi was running through my head at that time, like just trying to do something different. But I wasn't in the right mindset. I was going through the first stage of withdrawal at that point. I get up, I get my phone, I get on the phone, I call my wife. I'm cursing at her. I'm telling her, if she doesn't get me out, I'm gonna divorce her. It's all her fault. I'm gonna miss his basketball game because of her. All that is coming out. And then I go back, finally by that time she's like, the neighbor told her to hang up because the neighbor was like, he's going through withdrawal. So she couldn't understand how to handle it because she's never heard this before. So going through that experience and seeing what is going on inside of a mental health, Tampa Behavioral Health, I I started journaling it. My sister saw the journal. She's like, you gotta turn this into a book, because it was like prison, military, and I don't know what else it was, but it was all combined. I would walk in a stand line against the wall. We'd have yard time, the food, cafeteria food. I mean, I was looking at hospital food like, elegant food at that point. But that experience, coming out of that was my rock bottom. I don't know if I didn't go there, where I would be today. Would I still be drinking? Would I be drinking and driving? Would I have done something worse? Would I have alienated myself even more from my family? But the good thing is I don't have to think that, because I was loved by enough people, and they got me to a place that got me some help. Because once I got out of there, I started seeing a therapist. I talked to my sister about meditation. And and it's crazy because she was doing the work, and I was that high functioning, depressive person, and I wouldn't show it. As men, we're like ingrained not to show it. Like it was hardwired in us in a lot of cases. So coming out of that, I realized I wanted to get back into real estate. And I got into it, and I see this stuff about, people are making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on Section 8 rentals. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Well, I woke up one day, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how are these people making so much money? And now they're letting the people that are living barely get through life. They're going paycheck to paycheck, or whatever it is. That's what sparked me to open up the Pure Soul Foundation. Pure Soul, I believe that every living entity, every human being has the purest of soul. Our environment, our circumstances, the people that push things on us without us knowing and having the tools, is what causes us to be where we're at. And in many cases, maybe years ago, none of us would have been in this room, but something got us to come back around. So I truly believe that sustainable housing, healthcare, education, and employment won't happen unless we bring mental health first. We bring great people who are respected in their industries, great organizations together. And with the awareness, the advocacy, and the alignment, a few of the companies I got a chance to start over the years, I'm working on with real estate and affordable housing with new methods, shipping containers, 3D printing, not traditional construction, bringing costs down, allowing small to medium-sized housing to be done in a third of the time, right? That's the key, because we have waiting lists on referrals. We have people that have to wait to get on the wait list. Like, that doesn't make sense. So with that, I believe I've connected with enough people in this county that will continue to connect. But healthcare, education, and employment, it's the key to the kids. I have a vision that, like, if you were to ask any youth, hey, do you guys know what VHS stands for? So they got to go to a dictionary to look up what a VHS tape is, right? That's my goal for their children, to look up homelessness, to look up poverty, to look up uneducation, to look up unemployment, because they won't know what it is. With this event, with everybody coming out here, regardless of the circumstances, we are the voice. We are the ones that are going to do this. And we can replicate this all around the country, all around the world. We have people from Colombia currently watching, because we've expanded to do some work in Colombia. Dr. Monica's publisher, and my future publisher and our PR director, she's based out of South Africa. So the global reach is within reach, unintended. But now I'm proud to speak about the difficult time I went through, and be that beacon, be that piece of light, so we can shine pockets of sunshine on anybody that needs it. And sometimes we may not see it. They may not want to tell us, but enough of us caring is what's going to make this world change. So I appreciate you guys for giving me the chance to share my story. It's something that I didn't expect to share, honestly. Enough people were like, you gotta share this. And I said, okay. I mean, I'm okay with it, because vulnerability as a man is one of the hardest things that we can do. I'm sure there's many of the gentlemen here can agree with that. So I want to say thank you, and for everybody coming out to support this event. I'm looking forward to connecting with each of you guys. Some of the technology that you guys saw when you came in, we started with a tap function on a little card. I have an AI company, and I've been talking to enough people about this sector is not going to see technology for a long time. The way technology is moving as fast as it is, it's going to push a lot of the work we're doing and make it a lot more difficult for us. Except the way we found and how we can bring that to this sector, and that's my mission with Pure Soul Foundation, is to allow technology to help every one of us accelerate in the work that we do, in the education we provide, in the employment that we can do. And we got to house these people first, because without that, there's nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with that. Is there anybody that has any questions or anything for the panel, or anything that's on anybody's mind that they would like to share? If there's a story, anybody's feeling that this is a space that they can share, I'm open for that, because we have a little bit of time, but we are wrapping up. So Ricardo.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone coming out, and let's connect. Please do not leave here without going upstairs and checking out the museum and check out what we do, and come back on Saturdays from 10 to 2 to see how we can fly your kids and get them involved in aviation, STEM, or entrepreneurship. We're here, and I want to connect and get to know each and every one of you. Like they say in Espanol, mi casa es su casa.
So I wanted to give a special shout out to Ricardo. So Ricardo Foster with Infinity Aero Club. This is his venue. Him and I met with God's divine grace, and it's very similar paths that we've been running. He's been doing it a lot longer, and I work out energy. I'm a big person. If you ever meet me, like it's got to be a positive energy, because that's how I function. Like, I naturally gravitate away from negative energy. It sounds funny, but like there could be negative energy, my body will just go this way, and I'll be like, okay. So with him, it's been amazing because of what aviation and STEM can do. So what we decided to put together is the Pockets of Sunshine. Pockets of Sunshine is a program. It's evolving from a book to this event. We're following it with Zooms and quarterly workshops, and we're going to be working with different organizations to bring these forward-facing mental health events, as well as how is this going to help our youth, because we can help them get out of any type of mental health, potential future. It's going to be a better world. So part of what Ricardo is doing here, I want to highlight. He's got a workshop here that's going to be building children are going to be able to build parts of an airplane and build an airplane, and it's focused with mental health first. So if any of you are familiar with the Spirit of St. Louis and the transatlantic flight with Lindbergh, Ricardo can share more in detail because I don't want to steal that. But we decided Pockets of Sunshine is going to work with his program, and with the tour that he's planning on doing around the country, we're looking to do something of that sort with other organizations. So Pasco County, Hillsborough County, the state of Florida, it eventually becomes the way it needs to be in everywhere and anywhere. So I'll end with that. And I wanted to say thank you everyone for attending. And thank you again, panelists. It was great, your time, your information. I thank you guys dearly. Oh, yes, this is my vice chair, my best friend, Greg.
Hey, what an amazing evening. Thank you all for coming out, for taking time out of your busy day. The panelists, thank you for being here to talk about such an important topic. And I just wanted to take a minute and thank this guy over here to be in his head for 5 minutes, right? I know many of you have had deep conversations with him about many different topics, but the energy and the passion that this guy brings to the table every single day, the 7 a.m. conference calls we have, the 11 p.m. conference calls, Saturday, Sunday, everything to move this vision and effort along, it really speaks true to you as a human being, and we couldn't thank you enough. So from the entire Pure Soul family, we wanted to present you with something, just a little something. We always talk about how you love to wear the brand, so there you go, buddy.
And switch. Well, Linda, was there anything you would like to say before we conclude?
Action mode. Go into your communities, start small, think big. How can you connect with people to be able to give people the services that they need without any barriers or with the lowest barriers possible. That's all I got. Thank you for having me. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
You're very welcome.
Come out of the car, and I won't charge my $3,000, $10,000.